We have completed the hardest part of the animation process. Now it's time to move on to the more repetitive part, cleanup and color. But before we dive into the work, let me introduce two methods of the following process: the outline method and the cleanup method. There are probably more methods out there, however, these are the two that I use the most. Let's start with the outline method. Rough animations can be actually a lot rougher and sketchier than our shark animation. The purpose of roughs is to lay out the movement and prepare the animation for the outline. You can do this by reducing the opacity of the rough animation layer and on a brand new frame, trace the rough with a nice refined line. That is easily done in softwares such as Photoshop, but unfortunately Pencil 2D does not have such an option. Instead, if we were to use that option, we would have to take a longer route. 1. Create a layer on top of these sketches. 2. In Windows, open Color Inspector. 3. Pick white in Color Box. 4. Drag Alpha Zipper to approximately 80%. 5. Choose Bucket and click on the canvas. This way, there will be a nearly opaque white layer on top of the sketch, creating a nice cover. From that point onward, we can create another new layer called Outline, and frame by frame, trace all the sketches in a refined, rigid outline. This entire process, however, is very repetitive, and I advise you to use it only when you expect a fine line animation or if your sketch animation is very rough. Since today's animation is not that bad when it comes to roughness, and there's only a few things that should be cleaned up, there is another option that I like to use, and it's called cleanup. And actually, cleanup is referred to the outline, final outline version of the animation, so the completed process that I just described. But what I call a cleanup is the refinement of the rough sketch animation. So, right now, what I have done is a rough sketch animation, however, it's not that bad, and you actually see most of the most important shapes. Just the cleanup would save me a lot of time of animation of the whole process. That's why what I will do is use the cleanup. I mentioned that there are two styles of filling in color that I use. There might be more out there in different softwares, however, I'm familiar to these two, the opacity lock and the bucket. Starting with the bucket coloring, most drawing systems have a wonderful tool called the bucket. By clicking on this tool, you are able to fill any closed space with whatever color you choose. It's very convenient because it makes coloring very fast. However, as amazing as it seems, unfortunately it has a flaw when using with bitmaps and brushes. See, most brushes have a minimal feather attached to it. This means that apart from the line that they draw, they include an outline layer of very see-through transparent pixels. If you zoom in, you'll be able to see, instead of the line, there are the transparent parts around it as well. The more pixels transparent around, the softer the brush. This is something that we can see with the brush option over here, and the feather. The more feather we have, the softer it seems. However, the bucket tool fills spaces that are free of any pixel coloring. So if we have a strong stroke rigid with only minimal transparent pixels around it, then the color will be nearly perfect. However, the softer the brush, the more space in between we will have with little or very transparent pixels. That's why with most outlines, the bucket tool doesn't really work. The principle of using the bucket tool is that the character or the shape must be enclosed. I'll see how it will work on the animation that we made to check if we can use this very fast coloring method. I'm gonna select a light blue and I'm going to paste it onto my character. See, the color has been pasted. However, it doesn't look any good at all with all those white spaces inside our character. That is why I think for coloring this animation, I will use the second method, which I call the opacity lock coloring. The lock part, however, is only applicable to some software. The main principle of this coloring is to make a layer called color. Let's say it's going to be the shark beneath the outline layer. So what it does, it creates a layer beneath the outline. So whatever you choose to color or to do on this layer, it will be beneath the outline. Let me just show you with a simple color in this layer. You see that the outline is on top of the blue, which means that this is a perfect way to do coloring. With the lock part of this method, it unfortunately cannot be used in Pencil 2D because you cannot lock your layers. However, in software such as Photoshop, what you can do is fill in the coloring in that layer below. Let's say not using feather. And you have something like this. And what you can do is lock a layer. There should be a lock sign over here, and whichever software that has this option has. If you click it, you'll be able to color within this space anything you want, and you will not go out of the lines because it locks the opacity, and whatever you draw on top will only be within the borders that you've locked, which is really helpful when it comes to coloring characters that have a lot of details, color details on them. However, Pencil 2D does not have this option. That's why for the sake of this animation, I'll be using only basic colors so that we can fit in time. Now, so the way that it works is the same as with outlines or sketches. You have to draw each and single frame with the color. The only good part is that you don't have to think about the motion. All you do is fill the space between the outlines. Great! We've done filling in the color to our characters. The last thing what we can do is add the background. Great! We have completed our animation. Everything is done: idea, cleanup, colors, and background. Of course, we could also add shadows, highlights, and body parts such as gills, fins, fingers, or other parts that would make your animation look more developed and completed. However, these are all additional features that work on similar principles as described in the past videos. The outcome that we have now certainly suffices as a simple animation. Concluding, we have finally finished our third part of the animation process. Next up is the fourth and final part that will show how to export your animations. For now, thanks for watching and tune in for the next video.